whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. It is Tuesday, May 2nd. Thank you for everybody for joining us this morning. We have a great show coming up. A lot of strikes are happening. That is basically the theme, which of course with May Day and, this is what we do in America. So we'll be touching on the pilot strike, the writers strike, and then, of course, the Oakland teachers strike that looks like it, unless a miracle happens, at least a one-day strike happening in Oakland for the Oakland teachers. And then a story of hope. And I don't know, some people are very disappointed and some are encouraged by what is happening in San Francisco. The hope comes as there's apparently a fentanyl crackdown happening, the CHP being brought in the Tenderloin area. And then I'm really curious, and you guys tell me what you think in the live chat, what you think about this security guard at a Walgreens in San Francisco who is not being charged for fatally shooting a shoplifter. There was a huge protest outside of the Walgreens by people who are very upset that the security guard shot the shoplifter. So you guys let me know in the chat what is going on. This, just to be full disclosure, this is recorded. I actually recorded it this morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning right now. But I will be here live very shortly. My daughter's having an infusion, but I wanted to get something out there since I was at my other job yesterday. And this is a very weird week. I want to kind of give you guys a little bit of a scoop. Tomorrow, I am back in San Francisco for my second job. And then Thursday, I may try to pre-record an hour or so for Thursday because I'm actually emceeing an event here in my hometown of San Jose. And so I'll have more details on that after that happens, but it has to do with people who are recovering from drug addiction. And so I'm very honored that they asked me to do this. So I'll have more details coming up on that. And I hope to, maybe get some interviews done while I'm there, but we'll see what I'm able to do. And then, of course, I'll also be back on Friday, normal time right here on the Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube. Now, before we continue, please, you guys, click the thumbs up button. It helps with the show. It helps expose the show to YouTube. It really helps us out. We love doing the show. I really want to continue doing the show, even though, of course, my schedule has changed. I hope you guys still enjoy as much of what we put on every single day or so. The super chat is also live. That, if you don't know, is a way you can donate money to the show, whether you're watching live or if you're watching in the replay. This show is completely 100% crowdfunded, and we like to keep it that way. We like to keep the lights on, literally and figuratively. So please donate whatever you can. And then, of course, you could become a Medorable. That's what I call my crew of people that become monthly Patreon subscribers, and it's really, really easy to do. All you have to do is go to that website right there, thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and you'll find links to the Patreon, the PayPal with the email is right there, thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. We keep things simple, I always say, here on the Nikki Medoro Show. So thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com is the email. And then if you want some merch, which you can also find the link on our show's website, but there it is as well on the screen, thenikkimedoroshop.com. Okay, so how many of you are worried about your summer plans? So I've been telling you guys, because I'm very excited about it, that I'm going to Hawaii the week of the 4th of July. Very, very excited. Now, I know Southwest flies there. A bunch of airlines fly there. I am taking Hawaiian. So I don't know how much I'm going to be impacted by this. I could possibly be impacted by this. But pilots at American Airlines have voted to authorize a strike. Southwest pilots are also preparing to join them. They want new contracts. They want hefty pay raises. I was listening to one interview with a pilot, and he was saying, look, if the strike happens, we could be on the plane They give the cue and we just get off the plane. There could be people on the plane. So we're hoping that they're hoping that the walkouts don't happen anytime soon. Federal law reportedly prohibits airline unions from striking without the approval of a U.S. mediation board. Now, it's not occurred with negotiations for either American or Southwest. Congress and the president can also act to prevent a strike if one appears to be imminent. Airline unions like to take strike votes because they help. Obviously, it helps with their leverage at the bargaining table. But a strike that is underway, I think starting at noon today officially, the Writers Guild of America and the Council of the East and the West, they have voted unanimously to have a writers' strike. This is going to impact a lot of the shows. And you know what? I stand with them. I really do. And the reason why is because television, how we watch, what we watch, how quickly we watch has fundamentally changed. And did you know, I mean, given how much we watch and binge streaming, how much we watch shows over and over again, I'm thinking of Schitt's Creek. Okay. A great show. I've watched that show from beginning to end so many times. And a lot of these writers, they don't even get residuals. The Met Gala was last night. Hopefully when I come back live, I want to go over some of the pictures with Kim McAllister on some of the outfits from the Met Gala. But one of the people that was there was writer, director, actress Olivia Wilde. And here's what she had to say about the writer's strike. Because obviously, as a director, as someone who produces stuff, and as an actress, she knows firsthand what can happen. Here's what she had to say.
I support the writers, and I think it'll affect all of us. It'll affect every part of the industry and people beyond the industry. But, you know, we have to stand up for our rights. And I support unions, and they've spent a lot of time thinking about what they deserve. And I wish it didn't have to come to this.
I wish it didn't have to come to this either. And, you know, she said there, it sounded a little low to me, but she's basically saying, I support the unions. You know, you have to pay the talent. And unfortunately, the people in front of the screen often get the most money, the most attention. And it's hard when you are doing something and you see a lot of people making a ton of money and your show is a hit and you're not making any more money. There's a lot of people, let me just get this, that are weighing in on this. Now, the Writers Guild of America says its members are struggling to make a living. Rates have fallen. Writers have less job security, even as the streaming era has led to an explosion in TV and film production. Now, the strike is set to bring most TV production to a halt immediately. The first place you'll notice it is late night news. I was going to show you the video, but I would totally get a YouTube strike, but you can Google it. And some of you may remember it. Conan O'Brien, he was a late night talk show host when the last writer's strike was happening. And what he did was he took off his wedding ring and he just started spinning it on the desk. I mean, these guys are funny. They can come up with like things on the fly, but the things that you laugh at, the monologues, the jokes, the skits, all of those things, there's a crew behind the scenes that is writing that, that's creating that, and they deserve to get their money. The last strike, the last time the Writers Guild of America was 2007, 2008, which I think is when the Conan O'Brien thing happened. It lasted 100 days. That is a long time. And you're gonna start seeing it in some of your streaming, shows that you love to watch. I was just looking at Yellow Jackets. I know somebody a couple weeks ago had mentioned it in the comments, and I didn't say anything. I do watch Yellow Jackets. It's on Paramount Plus Showtime, and so I watch it. Great show, and it's on a hiatus until May 2nd. And I'm like, shoot, I hope this doesn't like prevent, because I don't know how far ahead some of these shows write into the future. I mean, it might be a week, 2 weeks. I don't know how much farther than that they write. Jimmy Fallon was being interviewed on Democracy Now! he said, I support my writers, but we have a lot of staff and crew that will be affected by this, but they have to get a fair deal. And he says, I'll do whatever I can to support them. It's really hard. Brittany Nichols, one of the people behind Abbott Elementary, said, we're demanding this industry be one that can sustain a career. It's as simple as that. We have a consistently profitable business, but right now, the actions of the studios are ones that seem like they only care about Wall Street. They're chasing a rabbit they're never going to catch. And in that pursuit, they're running over their workers in this industry. Now, they talk a lot about streaming. They talk a lot about residuals. So let's see. The various streaming companies that they're negotiating with: Hulu, Peacock, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, a lot of pluses. Netflix, Amazon, those are the big ones. Then they're saying that they're not engaging. Basically, the writers are saying they're being told that they do not care, that you can no longer make a career in this industry. As someone who's part of a union, I fully support unions. I think that corporations, big business, small business, medium businesses that don't want a union, there's a reason for that. You have to pay more. You just do. It costs money when you hire or when you are a union shop. It just costs you more money because there's demands. Now, is there going to be a downside to every union? Is there always the possibility that, there's bad writers that you can't get rid of? So I'm thinking of bad teachers. That's always the thing. Oh, I have a bad teacher. I can never get rid of him or her because of the union. This lazy person, I can't get rid of that person because of the union. And yet it's these workers that are making it so your business can stay up and running. And yeah, Brittany Nichols goes on to say, writers are the backbone of this industry. Nothing gets made without us. And I think that the studios will be in for quite a rude surprise when they realize that though they do not value us or our contributions, they do not have a product without us. And that quote stuck out to me because you know what else is happening? And we talk about it, I feel like we can never stop talking about it now, is ChatGPT or AI. Using AI to write scripts. And they want limitations on the use of that. I want limitations on the use of that. Again, the thing with AI, and I know that it's already incorporated in many things that we do, but I feel like there is a line that is being crossed. And I feel like everyone from Elon Musk to the father of AI, I was just seeing, has his concerns about it, left Google because of it. They're saying it's moving too fast. We're making human beings and human work obsolete if we keep going down this path. But it's going to be up to us, the consumer, to demand human written scripts. Right? I don't want to see robots on my TV acting, and I don't want robots writing my script. Maybe you do, but I don't. I mean, we're going to step out our front door and we're going to see a bunch of humans sitting around not knowing what to do with themselves because we've adopted a technology that's taken our place. And I know it's a very dystopian way of looking at it, but where does it stop? I mean, seriously, at what point do we stop with the AI? There's a group that identifies dozens of news sites. Someone comes from a news background, works in news. That are created by AI chatbots. This report was published by the news rating group NewsGuard. It identified 49 websites across 7 different languages that appear to be generated or mostly generated by AI language models. Now, according to this report, most of the websites use kind of dull language, repeated phrases. It also said that the AI-generated news sites often fail to disclose who was in control of the website. So if you've ever gone to some of these websites, for instance, one's called Biz Breaking News or News Live 79. But instead of having a human name as the writer or the reporter, it'll just say editor or admin. That could be a clue that it's AI. Some articles explicitly gave away that they were generated by AI. The report said one article posted by the website bestbudgetusa.com included this. It was the AI chatbot's response to a prompt. It said, I am not capable of producing 1,500 words. However, I can provide you with a summary of the article. So what I imagine is, let's say there's a news article about something and they're like, can you write a news article that says kind of this, but doesn't say exactly this because that's plagiarism? The report also discovered that most of the websites did not promote misinformation. Some of them did. So don't go on. This is some of them that promote misinformation. Celebritiesdeath.com. It said that Biden was dead and Harris was acting president. The article was not completed, though, with the text saying it could not answer the prompt. This is what it said. It said, I'm sorry. I just read this in a robot voice. I'm sorry, I cannot complete this prompt as it goes against OpenAI's use case policy on generating misleading content. It is not ethical to fabricate news about the death of someone, especially someone as prominent as the president, which is interesting. It's interesting that the human being that's trying to use AI to generate a fake article that's spreading misinformation about the death of a U.S. president, the AI is like, stop being a butthead. I'm not going to do that. But this is where it's going. And so back to the writer's strike. I get it. I absolutely get it. It's going to suck. I hope it doesn't last 100 days. I hope it doesn't last 2 weeks. But sometimes, you just have to show those in charge that you mean business. One last strike to talk about, the Oakland teachers strike. So yesterday, we thought that they were going to make an announcement that they were striking. That was kind of that. It's basically, we want to continue negotiating, but if it fails, we are striking starting Thursday. Apparently, it's going to be at least one day. It would shutter schools for 34,000 students that are in the district. The Oakland Education Association says the district has failed to negotiate in good faith to bring a legitimate offer to the table. They want significant movement in negotiations to avert the strike. They're going to be meeting today and tomorrow. I've heard some, I think it was KTVU was interviewing some parents who are basically saying, why now? Why are you doing this now? The school's almost over. I don't know about your kids, but my kids are doing state testing a lot this week. And so it's frustrating that, something like this can happen at a time where school seems to be almost over. What use is it to strike right now? But on the flip side, again, I am union strong. They want their demands met. Now, they've been tied up over pay, benefits, class sizes, support services. Some say, this is enough money that we're offering you. Others are saying, no, it's not. So we'll see what happens there. I feel like it's interesting when people say, well, now's not the right time to strike. That goes against the whole idea of a strike. The whole point of a strike is it's supposed to hurt. I'm not going to strike on days where I have off. You won't feel it then, right? You won't feel it. But I just wonder, does a one-day strike in Oakland for 34,000 students towards the end of the year, possibly during state testing, bring people over to your side? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think that a lot of people, though, are, I would say they are justifiably frustrated, right? Justifiably frustrated. I think Oakland teachers' pay starts in the mid-60s somewhere. They know damn well that that's not enough money for a teacher to survive. Now, as of last week, district officials had proposed a 22% increase to the salary schedule starting next year, a one-time $3,000 payment in back pay, and that would put Oakland teachers above average in pay across the region. It also included increasing its contribution to health benefits by 15%. This on top of the state mandated contributions to the teacher pension fund, which is about the equivalent of 19% of salary costs. The union wants 23%, as well as more student support, full funding of the reparations for Black students resolution, climate-controlled classroom for students. They want counselors. I support anything that goes to support the students like this, especially after COVID, especially after all of the trauma these kids have been facing in recent years, from school shootings to a pandemic. So they want more counselors, social workers. They want class sizes down to 20, down to 20 in K through third grade classrooms, and at most 30 in academic high school courses. The union also wants the district to agree to use unused property to house homeless students and their families, which on that issue, I could see how the district will not want to be responsible for that. And this is just the initial thought out of my mind, and I don't have very much details on this. It just says to use unused property to house homeless students and their families. When the kid leaves the school district, do they lose their housing? You shouldn't tie school to housing, because then once you fill up that housing, no one else will get in there, because what are you going to do? Kick them out? So it's really, it's tough. It's a tough thing. I don't know how it's going to play out, but again, if no headway is made in negotiations, it's going to happen on Thursday. It definitely feels like we're in this time. There has been an uptick in unions. I mean, everything from Starbucks, and obviously the teachers union has been strong, pilots. I mean, how would you guys feel about going to a strong union country again? It used to be the saying, right? Get yourself a good union job. Get yourself a good union job. You'll have money, maybe a pension. I mean, nowadays, your union's only as strong as its people and how engaged they are. But yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important for people to stand together and demand things that many companies, not all companies, just won't give you willingly, because they're concerned about their bottom line. They're concerned about their shareholders, right? Their margins are very thin. I always hear that. The margins are thin. Do you know how little profit this company makes? We can't give you wages. We can't give you healthcare. We can't give you, well, and I know you guys hate when I say this. So many of you vilify me through emails when I say this. Then your business model doesn't work. Then you can't afford to have a business in X, Y, and Z city. If you cannot pay your full-time workers a wage in which allows them to live relatively near to where your business is, your business model sucks. It doesn't work. I mean, why pay anybody more than $1 then? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Companies, many, will pay the lowest they can to their workers to increase their profits. It makes sense. I'm not saying this as if it doesn't make sense, but what I'm saying is then you have to understand why these workers are striking and demanding more. Your business supposedly doesn't work without these workers. That's why you hired them. So you have to make it so they could survive. And, I don't think that that's too hard to understand. Nobody wants to have to work 24 hours a day to afford a roof over their head. Now, this is complicated because of the cost of housing and everything else. But this is the reality of the situation, from everyone from pilots to teachers to Hollywood writers. They want what's due, and we'll see who succeeds. All right, let's switch gears. So I teased this last week. It's happening this week. Kim McAllister was like, I'm not celebrating that. But it's Tenderloin Week, SF Tenderloin Week. So I was looking at the news on Monday morning, because Sunday was beautifying the Tenderloin. So you know what you saw. You saw a bunch of people out there with their power washers, right? Hosing down the sidewalks, sweeping things up, pruning the bushes, planters filled with new plants. Now, I don't know how long it lasted. I don't live in San Francisco. I don't live in the Tenderloin. But there is also something else happening. And that, of course, is that starting on Monday, this past Monday, Governor Newsom has started to crack down on San Francisco's open air drug market, which it is. I'm not even going to put it in quotes. I mean, you drive down the Tenderloin, you drive down parts of San Francisco, you will see people selling drugs and using drugs. It's not an exaggeration. The CHP and the California Highway Patrol along with the San Francisco Police Department and the district attorney's office, are going to get drug dealers. The goal is to get drug dealers off the street. Now they're targeting Tenderloin, the South of Market neighborhood. That's where the CHP is going to be. The National Guard will kind of be working behind the scenes because I think that just be a little weird. I'm going to go to this report from ABC7, talking to Tom Wolfe, who is a recovery addict, for his reaction. And it's only been, a day? It started yesterday, on how this crackdown of sorts is actually working. So here is Tom Wolfe.
From what I'm hearing from people on the street is that they're hunkering down. The people that are using drugs on the street are hunkering down in anticipation of this increased law enforcement.
The plan also includes utilizing the National Guard, which will be gathering intelligence on cartels and drug trafficking. They clarified last week that this won't include boots on the ground. But some San Franciscans, like Barbara Perzigian, who manages Hotel Via and says the open drug use on the streets is hurting tourism, wishes it would.
Would you have wanted to see boots on the ground?
I think we need boots on the ground. I would love to see boots on the ground.
I mean, I'm a native San Franciscan. I don't think this town would tolerate boots on the ground.
CHP won't say how many officers are being deployed, but Supervisor Dean Preston, who represents the Tenderloin and has been critical of the governor's plan, says he's hearing it's about 6.
Yeah, it's kind of a big nothing burger in some ways. So I wish the governor would focus less on these publicity stunts and more on working with us to actually improve the community.
Preston believes a better solution is safe consumption sites, which the governor vetoed last year. Wolfe, meantime, is just thankful that there's focus on combating the crisis.
We definitely need to do something. And so adding more law enforcement is a first step in that direction.
All right. So what do you think? Do you agree the boots on the ground or something like that is needed? How would you feel? And let us know in the comments. How would you feel if you saw the National Guard, looking like the National Guard, walking the streets? On one hand, I am hopeful. A lot of people say I'm hopeful. This is going to mean something. But I also think, just like that Tom Wolfe was saying, they're hunkering down. They're hunkering down and not exposing themselves, which maybe that's what people want. I was thinking about, I didn't say this, but somebody brought it kind of to my attention and framed it a different way. We have a huge homeless problem in the Bay Area. If you don't have a home, you don't have a home to do drugs in. And I know that seems really brutal, but just because you live in a neighborhood where everyone is housed doesn't mean you don't also live in a neighborhood where a lot of the people there use drugs. You just don't see them. You just don't see them. Now, I'm not saying every neighbor of yours uses drugs. But for you to say, God, I wish those drug users would be out of my neighborhood, is probably ignoring the fact that you probably live next to drug addicts. Probably live next to a lot of people using drugs. But you just don't see it because the people in your neighborhood aren't homeless. You don't live in a low, very low income neighborhood. And I don't know why that just resonated with me so much. Not that it makes either of it okay. Okay. I'm not promoting drug use, but it does seem to go hand in hand. They don't have anywhere to use their drugs. House people do. You don't think rich people living I think Atherton was named the richest place in the country to live or something like that. No surprise. You don't think people in Atherton use drugs? Hard drugs? Maybe even drugs with fentanyl in it? I mean, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. Of course, rich people do drugs. Rich people do drugs. Middle-class people do drugs. Poor people do drugs. There's two. But many of these people are housed, and so you don't see their drug use. You don't see them drooling on the street. You don't see them with a needle in their arm. And maybe that's what we actually want. It's not that we are necessarily believing that we'll ever have a completely sober society, which, you can have your own feelings on that. But it's that we just don't want to see you and your addiction on the street, which I do think is valid. I mean, I don't want to see people drooling and shooting up while I'm trying to walk to go see Hamilton in San Francisco. I don't want to see it. I don't think anybody wants to see it. I want my kids to see it. But at the same time, there is a reason why it is so out there and in front of people in certain places like the Bay Area that have a high cost of living. And some of it has to do with the fact that they are not being prosecuted, and others have to do with the fact that they have nowhere else to do it. And it's tough. It's really tough. Now, I know that San Francisco DA Brooke Jenkins has been saying and ran and is now the DA of San Francisco on cracking down on crime. Are you guys surprised by the headline that they are not going to charge a security guard in that fatal Walgreens shooting? Now, if you don't know the story, the guy that was killed is Banco Brown. Okay. And basically, he was shoplifting at a Walgreens and he was shot. Let's see. So police say the shooting was originally called in as a shoplifting incident, though a cousin of Banco Brown was with Brown, says that they were not shoplifting. And basically the video shows, according to the DA, that this was self-defense. Let me play you actually Brooke Jenkins. This was her statement when they made the announcement that she was not going to be filing charges. Here she is giving an interview to Betty U.
Really, as a prosecutor, there's no tougher job than to have to review these types of cases and really make a determination that we know is going to disappoint a community and a family. In this particular instance, this was a shoplifting that really, based on the facts, turned it into and escalated into a robbery. And the armed security guard did ultimately end up using lethal force by firing one shot from his firearm that ultimately killed Banco Brown. We had to evaluate the video, the statement of the security guard, multiple witness statements, to figure out whether or not there was a credible claim of self-defense. And we ultimately did not believe that we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt here that the security guard had committed murder or any other crime.
So what do you think about that? Now, there are many people that are upset because the DA did not file charges. And the reason why they are upset is because he was shoplifting. I heard one woman, I was trying to bring it up. See if I can find it. One was saying there's nothing in Walgreens that is worth somebody's life. And I think that that's true. I mean, I don't think that anybody should risk their lives to steal things. All right, let me show you some of the vigil that was being held yesterday. And you guys let us know in the comments. I mean, how should he have responded? Here we go. Let's bring this one up. Here we go. There we go.
One thing, we have our basic human rights that are not being met.
Say that.
They are kidnapping us and they are locking us up inside of jails and institutions and saying we're the problem.
Yep.
They're placing profits over people.
Yep.
They spend $800,000 each year to incarcerate somebody. $800,000 to incarcerate somebody. Can you imagine if those dollars were given to Banco's family or even just to him, just to him?
That part.
What would that do for somebody's life? If we reallocated those dollars, but instead they're funneling money into systems to capture us, into this institution that ends up putting us on involuntary servitude.
Yeah.
The 13th Amendment, if you ever think that slavery was abolished, it is not. Slavery has not been abolished. Young Women's Freedom Center is fighting to amend the Constitution right now.
Let me just stop right there. Now, I think the reason why they're talking so much about the money being used to house is one of the people, that woman that was with the YWFC, the Young Women's Foundation, was saying Banco Brown had been struggling with housing instability for over a decade while working for the organization as a community organizer. They remember Banco as an advocate who helped young people and trans people dealing with poverty. The Young Women's Freedom Center, they describe Brown as a community organizer. He spent years couch surfing, apparently, in the Tenderloin. And they put out a statement. They said, this Walgreens has been more harmful to Black community than more than anything. A bunch of people steal from this Walgreens every single day. I know because I used to be a loss prevention manager for Old Navy for years, for more than a decade. Why this Black young boy had to be taken from us so senselessly from something that everyone in the community and everyone around San Francisco does. So because everybody steals from this Walgreens, Banco Brown should not have been shot and killed from stealing from this Walgreens. Socorro Corey Moreland is the founder of Brotherhood 510. Is a Black trans man. And he said, we're erased or we're neglected. We're here and we're making noise. We've been making noise for years, but the situation at hand is that it's really just screwed up the fact that we're here. And it's because one of our own were killed because they didn't have access to resources. I'm hoping for this Walgreens to be shut down. The next thing I'm hoping for is these organizations, that there's more integrity on how they're actually running, who gets the beds and who gets housing. So they're basically framing this as he needed to steal from Walgreens because he needed to take care of himself. I know that excuse is not going to resonate with a lot of you. It's the whole, would you steal diapers for your baby, or would you steal food to feed your kid or your family? It's also, has the time passed for compassion? Have the people who exploit is the word I'm looking for. Are the people that exploit people's good hearts the problem? That they kind of ruined it for everyone else? Remember, I was talking last week about that Maine restaurant that was on the honor system, and it worked for a while, and all of a sudden people just started stealing stuff. Because that happens, right? Now, it could be 90% of people don't steal anything and 10% does. But when that 10% happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, when it's on the news, when it's being blasted on social media, when, and I'll even be fair here, when it's being blasted on social media so that it seems like it's more than 10% of the time, right? You hear the same story over and over again, that it just feels like that one time is 100 times. But when it happens, and when your city is known for that, there is going to naturally be a pushback. Now, should the security guard, this armed security guard, fired a shot at Banco Brown simply because he was stealing something? I mean, apparently, according to the video, there was violence. There was a weapon. The security guard was found to be acting in self-defense when he shot this young man. Yes, is it simply over goods? But then what kind of society do we live in? I mean, that's the kind of conflict that we're here. And I don't know what he was stealing. Is a can of food worth getting killed over? Well, when you're starving, maybe. But at what point do you stop stealing? What point do you try to work within your community with the social services there? And I'm speaking of from a place of privilege, because I've never had to do that. But if you've tried to use the social services around you and you've been denied, or it wasn't enough, or the minute you get your head above water, you lose that support, which we hear happens all of the time, right? Well, you make too much money to get the assistance. Well, the assistance plus this job that pays me pennies is what's making me last. Don't take that assistance away. Sorry. Them's the breaks. See, this is the society. This is the problem. This is what people are facing. And it sucks, and it's hard for them. And my heart goes out to people that feel this desperate, but you have to also look within your own community at those that are ruining this for you. That you may not be the bad apple, that you may be desperate for food and for help. But all those that aren't, that are just doing it because they want to take it, because the police aren't around, they're not enforcing it. This is the Walgreens that people always steal from. There's going to be pushback, and there's going to be consequences. And sadly, and I will say sadly, this person lost their lives. It sucks. It really, really sucks. And, I wish that we could solve the housing problem, and I wish that we could solve the drug problem. And I don't know if the care court or anything like that is really going to be able to do it. I don't know that. I don't know if it's going to be enough to help enough people quick enough, but we have to start. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of break. Pass it off to Kim. I know it's not. We'll carry the torch until I get back. There's a number of things I do want to talk about. I want to end the show talking about the Met Gala, which was really funny. When I was working yesterday, one of the people that I was working with was just like, "Oh my God, did you see this at the Met Gala? And oh my God, did you see that at the Met Gala?" I could give two rat's butts about the Met Gala, but it is quite funny to follow some of the outfits. So we'll be looking at those. And here's a question. If you're going to go to something like the Met Gala, do you go wacky or do you go classy, right? Do you wear the gorgeous gown or do you wear a cat suit? Because that was apparently an option. Apparently, Choupette was the cat that was there in spirit, at least in costume, amongst many people. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is being vilified over calling that family, those human beings that were shot by that guy who, yes, had been deported so many times and should have never been in the country. But he's being vilified. He called them illegal immigrants, as if that matters. Abbott, you're such an ass. So we'll touch a bit on that. Also, CNN, what the hell are you doing? They're trying to bank on former President Trump again. Lizzo is taking a page from kind of where California went. Remember, California pulled back on the travel ban to states that had conservative views against LGBTQ issues. Well, she's doing something that I fully support during her concert, which I absolutely love. Again, we'll get into the Met Gala. We have a ton of stuff to talk about. That's all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show. See you in a minute.